Hello, people. It's Christmas 2022, and I'm here with Iqbal Ali, and we are talking today about the 12 Days of Christmas.
Oh, good.
Go on ahead.
Go back.
There we go. The 12 Days
Yeah,
of
12
Christmas.
days of
I grabbed this
Christmas.
image. I don't have rights to this image, but I've got no idea why there's a cow in there, but who knows?
Yeah, there's
We're talking about the 12 Days of Christmas. We're going to make this video as short as possible. We're not going to introduce ourselves again, but this is us. Reach out if you want to know more. Okay, today we're going to start with 12 people to follow. So I think obviously there's hundreds of people out there talking about conversion rate optimization these days. It's a growing industry and a growing business. We've taken a handful of people, well, 12, more than a handful if you're in certain parts of the
handful. Yeah.
UK. Handful and a bit.
Well, less than handful if you're counting the fingers. But yeah.
People to follow on LinkedIn, on YouTube, or whatever social media channel there are. There's some interesting people out there. It's a mixture of analytics and optimization people. There's a couple of people in there that I've seen. I'm going to shout out to Juliana Jackson. I think she's doing a great job of, even though she's quite new to the industry, kind of bringing people together. So definitely follow her if you haven't already. Anyone else you'd give a specific shout out to, Iqbal?
Cassie, she's been doing some amazing stuff like articles and things like that, AI articles, and Eden as well.
Cassie's from Google, right? Head of data science.
Yeah. Really good at explaining stuff. Well worth a follow.
Shout out to everyone on the list, and shout out to loads of other people as well. We couldn't obviously include everyone.
These are people perhaps people haven't heard of or not following.
Exactly, yeah. We'll release the top 100 list of everyone you should follow at some point in the year. The competition. Yeah, so the competition is number 11. 11 prizes for Christmas. If you can tell us how many baubles are in the following picture. 10 common errors with optimization. So, not estimating your required volumes before you do the test. Changing your splits halfway through. Obviously, that leads to return user bias. Peaking too early. And trying to make the call way too early. Poor comms control. So in relation to the previous, maybe telling the wrong people, and those people might be, a bit too communicative about results and start celebrating too early. So poor comms control and telling the right people at the right time. Not creating a library of results in a solid format. Not testing analytics integrations for each experiment. Redirect tests typically for me they're a bugbear, so I tend to avoid them completely. Hunch-based testing with no evidence. Hunting for the positive in every experiment. You don't need a win, doesn't need to win in every instance, so you can accept a loss. And as I mentioned in that image a couple of days ago, you've avoided a loss through that, so in a way it's a win anyway. And inconsistent approaches across teams. Within a bit larger organizations, you might have like pockets of experimentation. They might be doing stuff in completely different ways, reporting numbers on conversion rate as an uplift, but actually in the foundations of what they're doing is completely different, and one team outperforms another. Any specific stories, Iqbal, on any of these, or any call outs? What's your least favorite?
Least favorite as in the most common? Least favorite. So hunting the positive in every experiment. That's a good one. I see that a lot. Like it's lost. It's like lost us millions. But you know what? It has done. it's done this. Like we don't need to know that. And often it's like some really obscure thing that doesn't really do anything.
I mean, I'd also say like trying to turn it around as well. Like, have you flogged this horse? Is it fully dead? Or like, well, it could be positive if we do this, that, or the other, and then you end up like 6 months down the line having tested it 5 times in several different ways, and you know, you could have just moved on to something else. So making that decision of when to move on, you know, as with relationships, I guess, as well.
The other one is another one to number 8, which is one I learned from Deborah, which is zebra, which is zero evidence but really arrogant.
Yes.
So, but yeah.
I've been there. Yeah, that's me sometimes for sure. 9-step process. 9-step process. It's so catchy. This song is going to be amazing.
It's going to be number 1.
We didn't mention we might sing this at the end of this video, so hang on, guys. Yes, and 9 steps. I'm not going to go through the steps. Like, they're fairly obvious. I think everyone's kind of got one of these slides of like what a process is. And some of them will have 11 steps, some of them will have 6. And you know, others might be in a loop. So obviously we're redoing this over and over again. But have a process. This is a kind of rough guide. Steal it, do whatever you want with it. Let's move on to number 8. A conversion levers.
Yeah, see, it just flows.
It does.
So these are conversion levers that you can use to across your, you know, when you're hypothesizing. They're pretty powerful. They kind of fit into one of either ability, motivation, or trust sort of categories. But you got clarity, like just making sure everything's clear, you're reducing distractions, etc. Value proposition, making sure that the unique USP is actually right there front and center for the user. It's a kind of like, it's the thing that kind of represents what the business is and why they should purchase from you or get the service from you, whatever. Relevance is a really, really important one. You know, what information, where have they come from is what they're seeing relevant to the user. Are the search results relevant to the user, for instance? Friction, not always like friction is bad, but friction can be good as well, but utilizing various different friction elements to your success, basically. Social proof, so that needs no explanation. Like you got, you know, like ratings, reviews, all that kind of stuff. Authority, which is kind of like just building up a level of trust, like using numbers, using articles, using sort of, you know, white papers or whatever, just to say that you know what you know your shit, basically, as a company in that area. Urgency, again, needs no explanation. And confidence reassurance, which is basically you know, like making sure people understand that when they purchase, they are going to get the item through the post. And other sort of measures like that.
Stuff like trusted payment portals, calling that out, and you know, saying that they're definitely going to get the product on specific dates and that kind of stuff. Yeah,
exactly.
Sounds good. I think friction's an interesting one. For me, I think sometimes people focus on like negative friction too much, and there's like all these other things that you've listed here. I think might like potentially could be more valuable than like trying to stop at friction. I think a lot of people will draw a funnel out and they'll see a big area of drop off, and you're like, that's the area of friction, we need to focus on that. When actually that's where you see the value proposition and the final price, and that's kind of where you might expect most of the dropout, because then people go and compare you to other products, or they're just scared off by your price, or they realize how much it's going to cost them, those kind of things. So yeah, I think
And another thing is the length of the purchase funnel. Sometimes they go, oh yeah, the length of the purchase funnel is too long, we need to shorten it. But oftentimes you need that long purchase funnel if it's like a high consideration product, or for instance, and there's a lot of information to display. That kind of thing builds more confidence.
Definitely,
at having that friction.
or it's like a complicated product with lots of add-ons or choices or decisions that the customer has to make, like a car color and the interior and the wheels and tires and the engine size and all the electronics. Those types of journeys, definitely worth a call out. Anyway, moving on, we're only at 8. 7 sources of ideas. For me this year, I had to put call center and call listening at the very top, because it has been like the most powerful thing we've done with one of our clients, just listening to those calls. User research, previous testing, problem-based workshops, solving impact on poor performing pages, so discovering the poor performing pages and addressing that, validating problem insights. So I think I did something with Shiva a few weeks ago around like focusing on problems before you focus on the hypothesis. I think that's was like a really interesting chat, so I'll put that video in the link below. And then following traffic backwards. Do you want to explain that one a little bit?
Yeah, so for example, if you're doing a test on the checkout page, then see where were they before that, where were they before that, where were they before that, up until you get to the landing page, and then say, well, where were they before they arrived at the landing page? You know, what sort of keywords were they using? And can you go back even further even? So basically just like not focusing too much on a specific page and traffic on that specific page, but try to get like a better understanding about, you know, what the user's journey has been up until that point. Is a good source of ideas.
Yeah, definitely. Kind of figure out where they are in their decision process. Could potentially lead into personalization as well, I guess.
Yeah, and even though like people checkout might be the first thing that they've come to, so it might be, you know, they may not have come through the funnel; they just landed straight into the checkout. So yeah,
definitely. 6 segments worth checking.
Worth checking. See, it just rings.
It does.
Yeah.
New versus return. Love that one. I think, you know, it's one of my kind of quality checks that I do in any test when you launch it, to make sure that you're kind of seeing that even split and you're not getting return user bias, something that I bang on about all the time. Do you want to go through the other ones?
Yeah, device. Often the desktop is prioritized way too much when mobile is the strongest.
Growing.
Screen size as well. Just doing an audit at the moment where basically, when you look at various screen sizes, it kind of, and you look at the largest percentage of screen size users, and you kind of go, well, that's about a bit of a bad experience for the user. So just kind of considering the screen sizes people using. And obviously landing pages and traffic sources are a big one. And then also like the top traffic pages, what pages are getting the most views, because that's where the most eyeballs are at.
And is these things that you would test or check prior or during the or like after the experiment?
So I would do, like, what I usually do is an audit before even starting and experimenting, and these are 6 of the key sort of segments I would check to see how they're performing, to get a better understanding about the picture of what's happening to traffic. Craig Sullivan wrote an interesting post where it's kind of like saying it's about getting like a more detailed sort of view. It's like when you got the pixelated image and it just becomes sharper and sharper over time. So when you see like different sort of layers of dimensions, you're looking at it from different directions and stuff, it just generates a much more sort of high definition image of what's actually happening.
Got it. Makes sense. Cool. 5 golden tools. So we were originally going to look at the best optimization tools, but that is actually incredibly hard to do. I don't have experience with all of them. So we kind of looked at 5 different tool types that you should have in your arsenal to help you make best decisions, create the best hypothesis, and run your experiments really well. So the first one is having a feedback tool or a survey tool. I've used the example of Qualtrics, one of the leaders in the market. Definitely recommend have something like that. Other survey tools are available. An optimization tool, obviously you're going to need, I think a couple of favorites of ours at least are SiteSpect, and I love Optimizely as well. Again, there's loads and the market is growing. It's definitely worth checking out, some of the top 10 lists that are out there, or even more than that. There's a load of tools coming to market. A CDP, I've chosen Segment.io, but again, there's loads of them now. The market's exploding, and cookieless is really driving the growth in that market. So everyone seems to be deploying a CDP at the moment. Having a session cam tool, Content Square, again, is a great tool. Used to be called ClickTail, or it merged. Content Square and ClickTail merged. Content Square is a great tool to look at heat maps and replay sessions. And then the fifth one is obviously having a web analytics tool. The forced migration to GA4, I think, is obviously got a reignited focus on web analytics. And I think a load of people will re-implement and improve their web analytics implementation. But I also think a few people are looking at moving. Amplitude is a company that's growing massively. Obviously, Adobe Analytics, if you've got the budget, is a great tool as well. Again, plenty of other tools. I'd probably chuck Snowplow in there as well. So these are the 5 tools, 5 golden tools you should have in your arsenal. For SRMs, that's the most catchy one, probably.
That's the most catchy one, yeah. Redirect tests are back. So especially redirect test client side when you're not doing an internal redirect or something like that. Just don't do it. Single page applications are a huge source of SRMs, as are broken custom events, which single page app SPAs kind of rely on to count users and collect metrics, etc. And then return user bias, which is one that you were keen to add. So I'll let you talk about that.
Yeah, we've both got posts on it, and I kind of explain what it is. So we'll put those links in. Basically, when you change the splits, so if you move from say 50-50 to 90-10 or vice versa, the assigned users from today, the ones that return remain because they remain in the splits that they were given originally, and because the proportions change, and they're more likely to convert as they return because people are further down their decision process, that introduced bias. But like I say, we both have descriptions on exactly what that is, so I'll add those links in. For me, it's probably the biggest, most common source of SRM that I've seen. I hate it, god damn it.
Because so many people do that. They change the splits.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, I think because the tools they allow you to do it and change splits. Like, there's no warning there to say don't do it. And if you don't know, you don't know.
And there's a common misconception about what the control group is.
Cool. 3 conferences.
Yes, Experimentation Elite, just because that was awesome. The one that I went to last time. Crap Talks is a much more regular one, and it's really, really good. Stands for Conversion something analytics products.
And its products, yeah.
So that's worth attending on a regular basis. They've got a good Slack channel as well for that. And then the conference and CXL, both of those.
Nice. And the CXL one was in Austin, and where was the conference?
It's in Europe somewhere. It's a previously Conversion Hotel. I believe it's in Netherlands.
I think. That sounds like something we're going to next year.
Yep.
2 misconceptions.
Yes. One. These are 2 bugbears of mine. There's this mistaken correlation between time taken to develop a test and the impact of the change. thinking that, hey, if something takes longer, that is because it's a much bigger test.
It's worth
Therefore,
it.
the impact, it's worth it because the impact is higher. But that relationship just doesn't exist in reality. And Stephen Pavlovich also reinforced that with his meta-analysis that he presented at Experimentation Elite, which kind of debunked that as well. And the other one is bundling changes for higher impact, because there's this misconception that it's the fact that you're bundling in multiple changes into a single variation, and that's the thing that's going to drive higher impact. And it's really not. It's basically, by bundling in all of these changes, you're probably going to hit on one that's maybe like a key one that maybe has some data backing it, key variable. But also because that variable could be doing well, could be performing better, but then there could be another couple of variables that are dragging it down. So yeah, it's not necessarily the bundling, but the prominence of a change that is driving the higher impact, and bundling just tends to have a higher prominence.
Yeah, so I think that bundling changes definitely. I think always give the example of, well, if you've got two things you're bundling together, one thing's 5% positive, one thing's 5% negative, and you have them in one test, then you're none the wiser. You've got no idea what happened. It's just giving you a flat read, and it's going to be very hard to kind of separate the impacts of those two things. I think typically that advice is given to drive conversion on smaller websites, to say, well, because you've got lower traffic, you need bigger difference to see it at statistically significant levels. So you're going to have to do more to impact more. And I think that logically that makes sense, but then it's not necessarily grouping things together, but trying to go for something that's going to be way more noticeable, go bold, get it noticed.
It's prominence that's driving it. Yeah. And noticing it and kind of like hitting on something that's key and important to the user. So for example, a value proposition, if a value proposition is badly written and is really unclear, and you know that from your data, user research and etc., changing just the text of that value proposition will have a much bigger impact than changing the images and stuff like that on the page. Other sort of
kind of makes me question that theory in general. Is like, well, surely everyone's trying to have the most impact they can, or the most positive impact they can. Anyway, I think it's worth thinking about. And number one, prediction, and a prediction for the new year. CRO will not die. I think to be fair with this one, the quote of CRO will die, and I exacerbated it a little bit, and mainly because I used it as clickbait for a video, and I think people grabbed onto that. The actual video isn't about CRO dying, it's about the need for every company to progress and evolve their CRO program into a culture, and that doesn't mean CRO dies, it just evolves with the company as more and more people get involved, and that process becomes a cultural thing. And I think as specialists, our roles will change as that happens. We move from the doers more to like the facilitators and the evangelists. It won't die. It probably won't die. You never know what's going to happen, but it probably won't die. What are your thoughts?
Well, statistically, some people who do CRO will die. I mean, that's kind of kind of included.
But that's not very Christmassy. But let's go with that.
Yeah. But that's. But also is like you say, I think the journey to kind of embedding experimentation culture overall is going to be a very, very, very long one. So even like when you consider like the fact that you got how many companies do you have in the world? Loads and loads of companies. To expect that all of them are going to adopt experimentation culture is probably unrealistic as well. So
100%.
there'll be a need for people with like specific set of skills, like Liam Neeson, to go in and just kind of deal with experimentation.
I didn't know he's in CRO.
He's in CRO as well. Yeah, that's taken
side hustle.
Yeah.
Not as non-prosperous side hustle that he's got on the go. He just loves it. He just loves it.
He just loves it. It's a plot for Taken 5. It's not doing very well, but it's yeah.
I think I think it just should be a goal to make the change in every company. More like not as a whole, like as a market thing. Obviously, there's always going to be immature companies. But yeah. Anyway, moving on. Bonus section. The Christmas bonus is our further predictions, because we couldn't just have one. We like to diversify here, so cover ourselves just in case that prediction is completely wrong. Although if CRO does die, then these are screwed as well.
Then these are screwed. Yeah.
Server-side cookies for everything. Whilst it's not going to make everything bulletproof, I think everyone's going to go GTM server-side. Everyone who does Google Analytics and GTM, they're going to move things server-side. It's going to be more efficient, more performant, slightly more robust in terms of cookies being deleted. And yeah, we'll see on that for sure. I think that would be a big move. The next one I had was customer level testing and cross-platform testing. So again, kind of driven by cookie list, but also I just feel like since COVID, people are trying to nurture their existing customers, and I think along with certain financial situations like potential recession, people are going to want to try and retain customers. So I think people will focus more on customer level testing, and if you could do that against a customer ID, excuse me, if you can do that against a customer ID, then that could allow you to test across different platforms. So on your app, on web, on whatever device you're logged in on, you may be able to test against that user and that real person, which I think makes experimentation even more powerful than it is today.
Definitely, yeah.
Google release another feature. Obviously, there's the groundbreaking landing page report that's just landed. I think there may be one more update next year, which may again be completely groundbreaking to the industry.
What will it be?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to predict that.
Maybe they'll fix the landing page.
Phase 2.
Phase 2.
I can't say I haven't actually used it yet, but yeah, maybe they'll make it more obvious in the navigation, because like you said, it's really hard to
I can't find it. Yeah.
And server-side testing will grow.
Yep.
Yeah,
we're
absolutely.
both big fans of server-side testing, so
definitely.
Yeah.
I think it's just more I think it's more real. I think it's closer to what you're actually going to get, if you make it the real thing. Right, so to end off, we are going to sing the 12 optimization tips of Christmas. So here we go. On the